again for joining us on today's live Metaphysical Sunday Service. I just have to announce, because why not? It's my birthday. Happy birthday, me, on this Sunday. So thank you for being here on my birthday. It is actually a gift when I get to teach to you, because teaching, this book teaches us this that we're going to get into. Teaching helps your mind expand it throughout your own mind better so that you yourself get to integrate the information better. And this type of information is next level. It's the kind of existence that you would actually want to live inside. So it is a true gift when you are here learning from me, because then the way the collective consciousness works and mind matrices, we actually fortify this information and build it and grow it stronger within us. So if I teach you and you go teach someone else and then they go teach somebody else, we are making a stream of stronger forms of this information. It's why things like this grow in power. When it is of such high levels of truth, it grows in power. It does not shrink in power, it grows in power. It just cannot be overstated. So today's lesson I'm actually more excited about than usual, because some of these can be quite repetitive and just boring, and you don't want to like hear the same thing, especially when you're doing them daily, and then we're doing them weekly, so you can really start to get like, or if you're not as ADD person as me, then maybe you don't, but for me I just get like, oh, why. But this is one of those things that when you stick with it, like the gym, you are actually doing yourself a service. You are growing those neural pathways in a new direction, creating neuroplasticity, regenerating the actual fabric of your reality. Your DNA will now grow better because the things that make up your mind and the all is mind are now going to be better. So today's lesson is, we're on number 5. I am never upset for the reason I think. This idea, like the preceding one, can be used with any person, situation, or event you think is causing you pain. Apply it specifically to whatever you believe is the cause of your upset, using the description of the feeling in whatever term seems accurate to you. The upset may seem to be fear, worry, depression, anxiety, anger, hatred, jealousy, or any number of forms, all of which will be perceived as different. This is not true. However, until you learn that form does not matter, each form becomes a proper subject for the exercises for the day. Applying the same idea to each of them separately is the first step in ultimately recognizing they are all the same. When using the idea for today for a specific perceived cause of an upset in any form, use both the name of the form in which you see the upset and the cause which you ascribe to it. For example, I am not angry at my stand holding my phone for the reasons I think. I am afraid of the show being ruined for the reasons I think. I am not afraid of. 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 I am not afraid of for the reasons I think. But again, this should not be substituted for practice periods in which you first search your mind for sources of upset in which you believe and forms of upset which you think result. In these exercises, more than in the preceding ones, you may find it hard to be indiscriminate and to avoid giving greater weight to some subjects than to others. It might help to proceed the exercises with the statement: there are no small upsets. They are all equally disturbing in my peace of mind. There are no small upsets. They are all equally disturbing to my peace of mind. Then examine your mind for whatever is distressing you, regardless of how much or how little you think it is doing so. You may also find yourself less willing to apply today's idea to some perceived sources of upset than to others. If this occurs, think first of this: I cannot keep this form of upset and let the others go. For the purposes of these exercises, then, I will regard them all as the same. I cannot keep this form of upset and let the others go. For the purposes of these exercises, then, I will regard them all as the same. Now, this one I'm repeating annoyingly maybe to you, because this lesson right here is so key. And maybe that's just in my own regard and my own life and being a frazzled person. I've quoted it before on my show, but I was and still sometimes am a very like Woody Allen type person, very oh no, about everything. Very I used to live from here when I should have been living, because in human design, I learned I'm splenic. I should only be living intuitively. So if you're a mind-led person, maybe you can lead from the mind easier, and you might know yourself a little more. But those that were intuitive, and a large amount of people are intuitive, there's splenic, which is me, and there's also the sacral. And they're also an intuitive, a different version of intuitive that has their own different quirks, but it's still an intuitive way that one should be making their decisions. If you want to know this, you can just look up your human design chart and it will tell you. Now, I find this in human design very fascinating and good to know, because you know what's authentic and true for you. So now, to link this back to our point here, I don't know why I'm upset. You don't know why you're upset. And overly thinking about why you're upset, because you can be like, oh, well, this stand should work. It doesn't make sense that it's shrinking every time I touch it. It doesn't, like those thoughts don't even come into my mind anymore when things don't work, because the ego likes to paint you as the victim in all moments and in all situations, or as the grand winner. It's one of the two, the victim or the winner. It's never just a medium. It's never just, perhaps this is happening because the camera fell to actually be a better angle. So it falling did me a favor. Now, you don't know the pre-story, but the thing was falling and I couldn't get it to not fall. I just let it fall. Things that happen. Like right now, this camera is probably going in and out because I can just see the video picture cut off. It doesn't, we did get better internet, and it seems to still be problematic because that's just life in the country. Now, that could really upset me, or I could think of and see it as a bigger picture. It's the zoom out is what I call it in when I give my lessons. The zoom out is how I like to think of seeing things from a bigger perspective, because the entire point of A Course in Miracles, as we keep repeating every week, is changing your perceptions, expanding your perceptions. But you cannot learn such things enough and in enough angles, because changing and altering and upgrading your perceptions is exactly what's going to change and upgrade your life. So if you have a problem in your life, remember, the all is mind, and we manifest from our thoughts. So if things happen that make us angry and we get really angry, we're going to shoot out angry thoughts and then now project a reality out of that anger. But look, we're here at the very beginning. It's not even what we think it is. So here we are projecting a life that's false. This is how we end up with false lives. It's how we end up with, it's crispy winter with minus many degrees, and it's hard on the lips. So we don't even know why we're upset. So why would we create a false reality when we don't even know why we're upset? And the way entities work and energies work, and your higher selves and the layers of being that can come into you, galactic beings that can come and go, like you are a vessel. Lots and lots and lots of things can come into you. You always want to make sure you are honoring the highest self, because you have to give permission to all the things that join into you. And giving permission is simple things like giving into anger. So when you're given a false idea of why you're mad and you give into it, you gave that entity permission to come in and live out this story. Because we know the fourth dimension in all the stories, right? That's where the stories of the gods and the archetypes and every Disney movie and every story ever created is now a living archetype. You can watch as like Trump is becoming an archetype. Why people can get in and imitate him so perfectly is because he's becoming an archetype, just like JFK did. And people can do his voice perfectly. And Marilyn Monroe, like this is just people we know recently. They can go and become archetypes in the fourth dimension, but it's like all time and space exists at the same time. So we create it here, and likewise, what's going on in the fourth dimension plays out in our reality. So there are characters that want to play out inside you. And you could choose to fully embody a character like these people have, and then they solidify it in the physical reality, which is a big deal. Or you're going to be filled with tons, which is what the most of us are. And I've realized really lately that we have these, like in movies and in stories and in comic books and things like that, you have like the the gang of ragtag people that go and save the day, even old kids movies, even it doesn't even have to be magical. You'd have that group that would form together and solve a problem. That's actually telling us what's inside us. We have our own ragtag band, and that's why we're so different, of these things that come and go. So they're not even necessarily part of us, but they hang around close. So if you notice one of them showing themselves, so about an angry situation, and you were to wanting to lash out, listen to what it says with the lashing out. Now also then listen inside your personal self and go, does that sound like me? Would I say something like that? And if so, is that who I want to be? Is that who I want my highest self to be sounding like? And we don't need to. This is why, like, the Christians had, like the Christ, be the Christ, live the Christ. Yes, Christ consciousness is vital, and middle pillar existence is its whole energetic form of being. But ultimately, that's coming to our own higher self. And what the Christian religion did by creating Jesus as this archetypical figure is they gave somebody that you could embody. But that's not your fullest authentic self either, if you're fully surrendered to another being. And you could do this with any god. You could do this with Buddha. You could do this with anything. But Buddha even was pretty clear in his message, though people still try to be the Buddha, but he wanted you to be yourself in your highest potentiality, your highest lived experience, you at your best, right? Like, there are higher and lower versions of you throughout time and existence. Like, you have so many variables and options here that you want to pick and choose very clearly on what you interact with in your own lived experience. So this is why things like teaching you are not mad for the reasons you think you are mad. And notice how earlier it was trying to just get you to break your perceptions on just things. Like, that door is not what I think it is. That curtain's not what I think it is. Like, it was getting us more boring lessons. This one is juicier because it's actually teaching us why. It was teaching us things aren't what we think they are, because it's going to turn out our emotions aren't what we think they are. Our emotions are not even necessarily us. And then get this, even if they are us, they're not necessarily coming from the true you. Like, they're not necessarily coming in their truth, is more what I mean to say. They're not coming in their truth. So you're very upset, but you're actually upset if you were to deeply meditate on it, or even if you're good at just introspective looking and learning and listening of the self. It's like a muscle you grow and gain. And you find that, like, oh, it's because I have like trauma issues, and then insert what the trauma was. It's something around survival. I wasn't loved enough. I wasn't protected enough. I wasn't seen enough. I wasn't heard enough. I wasn't understood enough. Like, I grew up, like, my parents, like, loved me, but like they didn't really know me whatsoever, or at all. No one does. Like, none of my siblings do, even though they love me. They don't know me. And me and my husband even work on, like, making sure, like, you know me, like, and getting that truth of knowing. Well, it's not just outside people that need to know you. Know thyself is the mission. You don't even know you, and that's why it can seem like everybody around you, they don't see me, they don't know me. And if you're a girl and you're a teenager, if you were a teenager, which you probably were, in your years, you had that damsel in distress fantasy, and they try to beat that out of girls. But it's that I want to be rescued. And why they want to beat that out of that being rescued thing, I don't know. Maybe it's got good reasons, because you should ultimately save yourself. But if you don't realize that you have that, I want to be saved. I want to be saved. Saved from what? Why? Why do you need to be saved? From what? Like, why? Like, that where's that instant? And then you got to dig. You're asking the why, but you dig and you dig and you dig, and you realize there's nothing really to be saved from. What you're really trying to do is come out of the cave, the hero's journey, the darkness. Come out of the darkness. It doesn't necessarily even have to be some dark, seedy tale. Your darkness could be good things. It could be that, I don't know, that you want to play piano, that you want to be a singer, that you want to be seen. There's so many things in your goodness that could be a part that could be found to brought out. So when we question our perceptions, especially when upset, because there's more juice to be found in being upset. It's why so many of us were former gossip addicts, like, or former, just like getting into that dark places and enjoying it, even though you're not truly evil. You're just like, oh yeah, tell me what happened to Cindy. What did she do now? And like, why are we like that? Because maybe we want to know why we have these instincts ourselves. If we hear why Cindy did it, well, why did I do it? And like, you go through and it doesn't matter the level of darkness. Like, we have this image of bad people being like, I always call myself a bad person, and people laugh when I say, because it's not that bad. I have the innocence things in my chart. Like, I'm naturally good, and I'm not bragging here, but like, I've never been able to be bad without severely having just feelings and not getting away with it from my own standpoint. But still, there's always darkness and questionings in your head of like, why? Why? I love this image here. It's perfect because it's like that darkness reaching up. Well, for starters, it's scientifically how we're created. The yin and the yang, the darkness has to be a part of us. So we use it because when we pull the darkness up, it's still going to be there. It's that yin and yang symbol, which I played in one of my videos before, showing it moving. Because pulling the darkness up, it doesn't mean you're going to become darkness. When you pull it up, you're going to take it up, you're going to find it, you're going to look at it, you're going to see what it is. As soon as you see what the darkness is, as I look into my light, bam, it becomes the light. Okay, but are we done with darkness? No, because the depths of creation come from the darkness. So what happens? You start pulling up again and again and again from the darkness. You're pulling again from the darkness. You're pulling it up. You're learning what it is. You look at it in the light. Poof, it becomes light. You go up to a higher paradigm. And what happens again? You start reaching for more darkness. And there you go. That's your spiral upward. It's continuousing. Yes, that's a word. To grab your darkness and pull it up and up and up and up and up into the light, turning it into light, and you just keep going, but you'll always have that darkness. There's that movie with, I'm not good at it, Wolverine, and he's bald in it, and his wife dies of cancer, but he's on that tree, and he's rising, and he's looking up, and he's coming to the light at the end, and it's way more prettier than that and not as tragically sad, but you're always going through life finding the darkness and transmuting it into light. And the darkness never stops. But to our lesson, you want to question. You want to say, I'm not angry for the reasons I think I'm angry. Because when we question ourselves on what we think we know, that's when we actually start to find the real answers. And this is why the ego, though not purely evil, becomes such a problem, because your ego goes, no, you definitely know everything. Or it goes, oh, you know nothing. But simply going, you know nothing, doesn't instill you with any sort of wanting to learn, right? Even like as a student, you need that little bit of encouragement. That's why the yin and the yang always tilt slightly to the light. Like you're being pulled to the light, at least in this realm. Other universes might work differently, but in this one, it is tilted to the light. It's why when you're trapped in entropy of darkness, like when you're just stagnant and stuck, it gets just the grossest feeling in the world, because you're not meant to be stuck in darkness. Where the light is so fast moving and not dense, you're not likely to get stuck in the light. Like, you don't need to worry about life getting too good and you getting bored. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen, because that's just not the way energy works. If you are in a really light place and things are going fantastic and you're so happy, just make sure to look for the darkness consciously. That's what I do, and it actually super helps. So, like, find old mistakes you made. Don't dwell. Never dwell. But unpack. I call it unpacking. Find anything that goes wrong in your life. Find anything that's happening and go, why? Like when I was doing with the stand, I actually wasn't mad about the stand. I was just trying to think of the thing I was mad about. I was actually just thinking, why? Because that's actually more my go-to now. As a former rageaholic once upon a time. Like, I'm a Sagittarius. I'm very fire. So anyone that's a fire sign, and then I have a high, incredible level of fire in my overall charts. Just very high fire. So you would know, like, it's anger is just such an increase, like, and that idea that someone's out to get you, something, and especially knowing about entities and energy, those entities and energy are out to get you. So yeah, that's just not a good place to be in. It's victim mentality even in the spiritual world, and there's lots of that happening now. Luckily, I only spent a few years in it, but some people can spend their whole life in it. Like, I see old people talking about the darkness getting them, and it's like, okay, like, even if it is, where could you find that space within thyself? Because as within, so without. That's why that lesson is so fantastic, because as within, so without. If you're seeing outside darkness, even the darkest of the dark, find that inside yourself and go, where is that in me? And it could look different. Like, that space inside you might look different than the space inside Charles, but it's creating it for both of you. Like, it's causing the darkest of the dark, and it's making that happen, but it's different things. Like, he might be repressing it, and you are expressing it, but unhealthily. So both are in a dissonant form. Both are not in resonant harmony. You know what I mean? That's not where you want to be. So we'll end this here. Question yourself why you're mad when you're mad, because you are not mad for the reasons you think. We are expanding perceptions. We are basically altering and upgrading our reality by untying the unnecessary knots we have put inside our own heads. And the all is mind. So your mind is generating your reality. And remember, you are God, you are divine, and you are severely loved by me and by the universe and by yourself. So find that love. God bless.